Hi folks, comic book creator and Lost in Space superfan Jeff Nicholson here with the final installment of our tour of the sets on Lost in Space. We left off at the end of Season 2 where the Upper Deck set was on Stage 11, but now it's been moved over to the smaller Stage 17 for Season 3. And we've already got something interesting of note here. This is not something I've read about, but I just noticed it the first time I watched on Blu-ray. There's no sand on the ground here. I do know that the first thing they shot for this season were these floating robot with John outside the spaceport. This was all just shot right in the front yard area of Stage 17, all swept up and blacked out. So I assume when it was time to do this initial planet shot, they're about to leave and have a whole adventure in space. They just kind of went with a night scene to cover up the fact that there's no typical sand there. But you can see it is just a flat tan-colored floor. The lower deck set was moved from Stage 6 over to 17, where it would sit beside the upper deck set. Meanwhile, Stage 11 now serves as the spare set for the alien blacked out ship type of scenes. Then after they crash land again, that's 3 for 3 for Major West, 1 per season, on the episode Hunter's Moon, they do try to make it look like a different planet a little bit with some giant dinosaur skeletons and even some location work. These were done on the outdoor Fox Ranch. Sometimes they cut back and forth between the set and the Fox Ranch right in the middle of the action. Kind of crazy to watch, but A for effort. But for the most part, as Season 3 hums along, it's going to be Stage 11 for the external rocky area, which doubles as alien camp area and gets swept up and doubles as blacked out alien fantasy set. And Stage 17 for the front yard camp area next to the upper deck and lower deck sets. That yard is a little bit smaller, so I believe that's why they put this huge barge of a rock out there, mask the fact that there's not as much depth going on. On Space Primevals, they reutilized that Fox backlot moat area. We haven't seen that since Season 1. There's a little bit of a day for night effect going here, but this is all outdoors. Then on Visit to a Hostile Planet, we get to see the glorious full-size Jupiter 2 mock-up, only previously seen a couple of times on Season 1 and 2. And more use of creative sets. This is some carpentry and shop areas on the Fox lot, repurposed. Indoor sets from the Fox lot, used for other standing shows. Outdoor rural town scenes from the Fox backlot. Got to see that ship once more in the daylight. Even as little kids, we noticed, hey, they're squinting in the sun again. On Deadliest of the Species, they arrive and do a soft belly landing for the very first time. Something different than crashing and landing with the tripods. It still doesn't really match up with the half-buried-in-the-dirt ship look, but it's something different. On Flight to the Future, Stage 11 becomes a tropical planet, thanks to a few hundred plants. Of course, they will do this again on the Great Vegetable Rebellion. On Stage 17, they remove that big geode-type barge of a rock for this more austere setting, so you can see how small that front yard is again. I really like this look too. It reminds me of Season 1 somehow. On Space Destructors, they reintroduce this long cliffside rock face structure. Was seen many times on Season 1 back on Stage 6. And now that big colorful geode rock is back in the front yard during Smith's banishment. And as you can see on this close-up, that mid-level sand dune, it's kind of a painting of a sand dune below the mountains. You can see the spackle on it for texture. That thing is right behind that rock. They're right up against that cyclorama wall. Love it. On Haunted Lighthouse, we got something quite interesting happening. The Jupiter 2 is docking with another ship, and you can see the outer hatch there. You can see the central astigator behind John, and out in front of him, they've just built up this fantasy-like outer ship set. And then from within the J2, you see out the window an American flag and some signage. We haven't seen anything quite like this probably since they were docked at Alpha Control. On fan favorite, the Antimatter Man, Stage 11 really gets a workout. It's the scene of John's disappearance. Then it's all blacked out and an elevated ramp is put up. Pretty cool. Then it's the rocky entrance area. You can really see the dimensions of the set here. can almost see the square corner in that purple background. They've just got some lights there behind the semi-three-dimensional silhouettes of mountains. But when that lightning strikes, it's all illuminated. Guess they never imagined we'd be freeze framing back in 1967, but here we are. You can even see a cable up there behind the lower sort of sand berm. And then the ghostly white tree walkway gets a lot of mileage in this episode. And there's that lightning again. Reminds me of when we were on the Monsanto Adventure Through Inner Space ride at Disneyland back in the 70s, and it broke down. We amused ourselves studying the corners of the set. Maybe that's where this whole obsession started. On Target Earth, they repeat that often recycled shot of the miniature landing in a parking lot in the dark. And this time, the setup is right outside Stage 19 on the Fox lot. They've got that one wedge of the full-size mock-up with the leg section there. And this is one of the few sets that you can still see in present time. Here it is on Google Maps, Stage 19. I'll go back, put a couple of anchors here. Just focus on the corner of that T-shaped arch and the glass doors inside sort of a boxy vestibule type of thing, and transition to the other. You get the idea. It's still there. You can still drive by it and look at it. Then as they look down on Smith and the pod, it's that same setup they used on Ghost World. A wedge of the upper deck, borrowed from Stage 17, brought over here and elevated. Looks great. When I was a kid, I just took it all for granted, but this is a lot of work to simulate this viewpoint. On Time Merchant, we get to see another cool redressing of Stage 11 with that backlit silhouettes of the mountains similar to Antimatter Man. And then on the scene where it's back in time and the J2 is on the launch pad at Alpha Control, it's Stage 17, but it's all blacked out. And we get to see the ship from that angle that we never see, as I've mentioned in my other videos. The cyclorama just does not wrap that far left around the ship, but now that it's blacked out, they can do it. So on that subject, when you're in the ship and looking out to a hard right in the hatch, they've usually got a rock or something out there to obscure the fact that that cyclorama doesn't go that deep. And when they're looking straight at it, it's a part of the cyclorama that you rarely see. Instead of the typical purple mountains and sand, they've got this really cool kind of sea of sagebrush like out in the Mojave Desert. It's really nice. So one more note about that favorite part of the set of mine. In Space Beauty, here we see Dawn running out of the ship, down the ramp, sets up his machine to confront the aliens. Take note, there's the lower bit of the ramp there to the side of him. Then Judy comes out to confront the aliens, staring at him to the right of the big barge rock I've mentioned. Then we flip the POV, so we're looking at our heroes facing the aliens, and there's the tail end of that ramp over to the side. How is that? How could we be looking that way when that's the part of the set that's always not to be focused upon? Well, basically, it's a trick. They just drag the ramp over to this part of the set. When we're looking at the aliens, we're looking at the purple rocks, we're looking at that part of Stage 17. Then when we're looking at our heroes, it's the very same angle, the very same direction, by moving a few rocks around. But if you note that orange tree on the left, it's still there in both setups. One more episode, Junkyard of Space, has some really cool sets, but you know what? I'm going to save that for my next video, because I want to do my first deep dive on a single episode of Lost in Space, so keep an eye out for that. For now, kudos to Mark Cushman and his book series, as always, and another invite to check out my books over at Amazon Kindle, Through the Habit Trails, Ultra Klutz, Father and Son, Nicholson's Tirade, No Regrets, Colonia. Just a number of the titles I've got, 27 books in all. Go check it out. Each book has a free, quick preview click. You just click, read a few pages, see what you think of it. Thank you so much. Till next time, bye-bye.